the parish president's remarks and report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. As we're getting set up here, I want to talk about the 2022 legislative session recap. They should be adjourned now for this year's session, but want to talk a little bit about some money that St. Charles Parish is going to be receiving. In the CPRA budget, we're going to be receiving $22 million. LaBranch Wetlands is a $12 million project, and though that is a QIPR project, it's the LaBranch Shoreline Protection Project. It's going to be a 1,500-acre coastal restoration project in the LaBranch Wetlands. So while that isn't a St. Charles Parish specific project, $12 million is going towards that, which should be underway later this year. For the Muntz Pump Station, we requested $10 million and received $10 million in the CPRA surplus budget, and we'll be using that towards those pumping stations that are currently in design. We received $750,000 towards the West Bank splash pad, which will go into District 1 at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center. I know a lot of our council members have already looked at some of the just very early preliminary renderings of that and preliminary design. We received another $750,000 for the West Bank Bridge Park Revitalization Project, which the council, I believe at the last meeting, passed an engineering contract for to do new fencing, new drainage, new turf fields on fields 1 and 2. So that will go over well. And then we received another $500,000 for East and West Bank Bridge Park revitalizations, as well as money in capital outlay. So I would say this year, St. Charles Parish did a pretty good job of receiving money. I want to thank our representatives, Randall Gaines, Greg Miller, Senator Gary Smith for all their help, as well as our folks over at Connick and Associates who helped kind of walk this through and kept an eye on this entire process the whole way through. Over to Public Works. The emergency bulkhead installation in Des Allemands is about 81% complete. Out of the 867 feet that was bid out, the contractor has installed about 660 feet of that. So they continue to weld holes, close and backfill areas behind that. If you recall, the sheet piling is about a foot or so or 2 foot off of the original piling. So they're going to backfill those areas and then tie that bulkhead back into the existing pilings. AMA Pump Station, again, more piling work is underway. This is an addition of 2 36-inch electrical pumps that is going in AMA, which will add some redundancy to that pumping station and some extra pumping capacity in large rains. Also, we are working on beefing up and installing new electrical poles to feed that pumping station. The Luling Oxidation Pond is about 70% complete. This is a project that's been going on since pretty much the first quarter of 2020. The 7-acre pond has been dredged to the desired depth, and the headworks equipment has been installed. Next is going to be pouring the slab for the MCC building and installing a pond liner and baffle curtains in the pond as well. So we look forward to that project being complete, and this, again, is the first major rehabilitation project since the pond was first installed. Over in Waterworks, we are doing a filter project. This is a filter on the West Bank, and Pintail recently sandblasted the A clarifier at the West Bank plant and working on ongoing upgrades. This is just kind of general maintenance to keep the plant working in good condition. Okay, private property debris removal. So we have been having conversations with Debris Tech. They are waiting for FEMA to approve any of the submitted homes for the private property debris removal. So we've had 62 residents that have signed up, 24 which are new signups that were not that are going to be inspected this week, and then Out of the 401 properties that we submitted, we think about 278 could potentially be demolished if approved by FEMA and if agreed to by homeowners. So we are working with Debris Tech and DRC to make sure that those get done. Last week we had our after action review as an entire group for our post Ida hurricane recovery and post Ida planning. So I should say since about December, every individual department director has been sitting down with the EOC and the executive staff to talk about what went right, what needs a correction, where do we have gaps? And the goal is to make sure that if we're hit by Hurricane Ida ever again, which we pray we aren't, that we can respond even better in the future. So we had that meeting, and then we had a press conference afterwards in which Dr. Ken Ortling and the sheriff, as well as Armin Burke with the fire service, all participated to make sure to talk to our residents about this upcoming hurricane season. It's predicted to be another very active season, 19 to 21 named storms, 6 to 10 of those being hurricanes, and potentially 3 to 6 of those being major hurricanes. So we are staying on alert for this year and still trying to recover from Hurricane Ida. Some bittersweet news for Joe Ganote. He has accepted a job at Dow Chemical as a leader for safety at the Dow site in Taft. So it is a great opportunity for him, but obviously we know that we are losing a great person in Joe Ganote and a great EOC director. We wish him the best of luck at Dow, and until that time, so he will be leaving on this Friday at 4 p.m. And then at that time, I've already signed a memo to which will be distributed to the council either today or tomorrow, if it hasn't already been distributed, assigning Jason Toste as acting director until a permanent replacement is found. Next, we will be doing, still in the EOC, we're going to be doing an open house. So next Tuesday, mark your calendars, next Tuesday, June 14th, the EOC will host an open house for all residents to learn about how the EOC team responds to disasters and emergencies. The sessions will occur at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., 6 p.m. being for our folks who are working during the day but still want to come. So that meeting is at our EOC, 15206 River Road in Hawnville, and then we will have light refreshments for those in attendance. We want you to come out. We want to show you how the EOC functions, who is answering that call when you call them, and just show you the building. We're really proud of it. Okay, this should be showing up in everybody's mailbox. This is our annual hurricane brochure. We went a little bit bigger this year to make it easier to read, but it has great information about hurricane preparedness. One thing that we are starting to push as well is this saying, the first 72 is on you. If you choose to stay for a storm and do not heed an evacuation warning, which we highly recommend if an evacuation is called, that you do heed that warning, that you need to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours after that event has occurred. That means having water, clothes, extra medication, batteries, anything that you need to be self-sustaining, and know that there could be the potential that you don't have. We know you're not going to have electricity, but you may not have water or sewer, or you may not be able to be accessed by emergency responders. So first 72 is on you, and when you evacuate, you should keep that same mentality that you need at least 72 hours of supply. So when you do evacuate, anything that you would have at home in your hurricane kit, you need to bring that with you when you evacuate. There's some other great information on here about evacuation routes, how to separate debris, and just important numbers to call all year long for different types of emergencies. So we're excited to see this go out. And then I will move on to finance, I think. Here we go. April sales tax numbers were up about 9.45% from last year's, from April of last year. So far this year, the sales tax has increased by 6.14% year over year. Community services, the summer food program has started at Albert Cammon Middle School and Carver Early Learning Center and will run Monday through Thursday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. through July 14th. The program is free to all children under 18 and individuals with special needs who attend the state-accredited school. Who attend a state-accredited school. There's no registration or fee to participate in the program. Menus and bus routes can be found online by accessing stcharlesparish.gov and clicking on the Department of Community Services tab, which will bring you to that information. It's also running on SCP TV, which is on Cox Channel 6, UVerse Channel 99. Or if you don't have that, you can go to scp-tv-.com. For more information, if you need that as well, you can call 985-764-7944. Again, that's 985-764-7944. That's our Office of Community Services. They can get you more information. Additionally, information has been sent home with the kids for residents who are kind of existing customers of our community services program. Over to Parks and Recreation. Summer clinics have begun today. That's summer clinics and camps. Those programs include Swamp School, Oshner's Sports Agility Clinic, Summer Basketball Camp, and Summer Baseball Camp, as well as Summer Softball Camp. Week 1 sessions have about 200 campers right now, so we have a good showing from our residents. The Fish Dat Rodeo was a huge success. We doubled our participation from last year's inaugural event. There were nearly 100 participants for this second annual event at the Bonnet Carré Spillway boat launch. So we want to thank all of our sponsors for help making this a fantastic family-friendly event, and we look forward to hosting it at the DeSalmans boat launch when that is built. Registration for fall sports is also open through July 11th. This fall, we are offering fall baseball, fall tennis, tackle football, flag football, volleyball, and cheerleading. Due to popular demand, flag football and volleyball are now open to children up to 15 years of age. For more information regarding registration, visit scpparksandrec.com or call 985-783-5090. Additionally, seniors and adults 55 and older are invited to attend the Silver Slipper Casino Trip, which is in Bay St. Louis on June 22nd. Always a big hit for our seniors. Registration is open now until June 17th, and it's online at scpparksandrec.com. The trip costs $10 per person. Lunch is not included in the cost of the trip. Additionally, you can call 985-783-5090, speak to Ms. Jeannie Araby or someone in the Recreation Department, and they will get you signed up for that as well. All right, over to just some general updates. The HSDRA system, which is the Hurricane Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, is officially complete. It was an honor to celebrate that completion with the Corps of Engineers, the governor, Senator Kennedy, and many others from CPRA, and many others who were involved in that project. If you can see, hard to tell where we are, but that's the INHC, which is the Lake-borne storm barrier. They call that the Great Wall of New Orleans. It's really a marvel to behold when you look at it. The HSDRA's levee is 130 miles. It stretches all the way from Plaquemines Parish and St. Bernard Parish all the way to St. Charles Parish. And that's 130 miles of levee and perimeter wall, which protects the greater New Orleans area. And this is the largest civil works project ever completed in the history of the Corps of Engineers. So over 240 years, I believe it's 245 years of existence. This is the largest project. It was $14.5 billion to complete. That sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at the fact that the federal government spent over $100 billion responding to the damages sustained by Hurricane Katrina, it goes to show you that mitigation does, in fact, save money on the back end. So as the President of the United States says, $1 in mitigation saves you 6 in damages. So, if you're curious of where HSDRA's is at in St. Charles Parish, if you live in Ama, you are protected by the HSDRA system, ties in at the Davis Diversion. And if you live on the East Bank, pretty much all of the East Bank is protected by the HSDRA system all the way to the Bonnet Carré Spillway. The only portion of St. Charles Parish that isn't protected by the HSDRA system is Muntz, and but happy to say that the West Shore Hurricane Protection Project, West Shore Hurricane Protection Project is underway and is fully funded. So soon, within the next couple of years, months, we'll have protection at that 100-year level, and that will extend all the way into St. John Parish, as well as, I think, portion of St. James. But we know that the fight is not over, because there's still a large portion, in fact, over 90% of the West Bank that is not protected by a 100-year core-approved levee. But the good news is that we have a project that has a successful chief's report, and that is the Upper Barataria Risk Reduction System, and that has been allocated $8 million. And I'm happy to say that Congressman Graves was able to move an amendment to WRDA that was in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee to congressionally authorize the project. So you need a congressional authorization before you can get funding. And we're hopeful that the Corps will sign the DA, which is the draft, the design agreement, in the next couple of months to get the full design underway. Once we have a better understanding of the true design, the true cost of the project through the design, that project will be able to be funded by Congress. So we're working with Congressman Graves, we're working with the Corps to help move that along as fast as possible, so that we can take advantage of some of these dollars coming out of Washington, D.C. and protect the West Bank of St. Charles Parish. Next, I had the privilege of going to a couple of our local businesses with Congressman Graves. This was on the same day that we celebrated the completion of Hijras. So we spoke with one of our local business owners, a couple of our local business owners, St. Charles Printing, Thompson Seafood, and Millennium Fabrication, about current business challenges, including supply chain issues, getting their materials in, inflation, and really just a deficit in the workforce and finding qualified people, especially the folks at Millennium Fabrication, who you really do need a very specific skill to do fabrication, and it's can be a challenge finding people with that skill set. So we had great discussions, and then lastly we toured. I think this was that same day. This was a very busy day. I, along with Councilwoman Bellock, school board member Art Oakland, as well as Superintendent Ken Ortling, we visited Green Shutters Tea in St. James Business Park. You remember there was a young man who came before this council, I believe it was last year, and asked for an ITEP. They are up and running. It was really interesting to see all of the different teas from all across the world, as well as coffee, which they have stored there as well as in the picture on the very bottom right, you can see they laid out a bunch of different teas that they steeped for us and let us try. So again, this is a business-to-business organization, so you will never see a bottle of tea with green shutters on it, but you may drink Milo's tea, or you may drink Starbucks, matcha tea or something from like that. These are the folks who help supply that to these large businesses. So they come and approach this company and say, this is the flavor profile we want, and it's these guys' job to source the tea, blend it, and match what their customer's expectation is, and they send it out. Marilyn and I were we were the only brave ones who tried some of these teas. Some were good, some were not so good, but I guess hot tea is an acquired taste. So lastly, we do have some job openings. Of course, we have carpenter equipment operators 1, 2, 3, and 4, grass cutters 1 and 2, groundskeepers, laborer, pump operator helper, pump technician helper, shop mechanic helper, utility billing clerk 1. To apply, visit stcharlesparish.com or stcharlesparish.gov/employment or call 985-783-5000 for more information. And we're looking forward to hiring you. St. Charles Parish is a great place to work. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great news to hear that, we've got a positive chief's report for UBRR and some potential funding. You mentioned that, that was necessary to get us to a 100-year core-approved levy, which we all know that has to be the end product. But as we go into hurricane season, I just want to remind the residents, although that sounds scary and it is necessary for us to get there, we do have flood fighting ability at this point going into hurricane season, because I think, the late year would hear that we didn't have a levee on the West Bank, and we do. 7 foot, I think.
7.5, yeah.
7.5 at the lowest point across the entire span of the West Bank, with the ability to flood fight in spots that we need to. So it did prove its worth in Ida, and I think, I feel safe as a resident going into hurricane season, but we do know we have more work to do, but there is something there. So I just want to make that clear.
I apologize if I may have inadvertently
Sounded
said
a
that we
little
were
scary.
unprotected. We do have that 7.5-foot levee.
Yeah.
It performed very well during Hurricane Ida, and we, most of our flood fighting was actually down in the Zalmans where we had the lowest amount of protection, and we had every public works hand that we could, as well as the National Guard helping with that. I apologize about that.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jewell, under private property debris removal, you mentioned that there were some properties that FEMA and the residents were to determine which ones were to be destroyed or which ones were to be demolished. Do we have a list of those properties, or can we find out which properties?
We submitted over 400 or close to 500 properties that we.
Because I need to know how many is in my district.
So we can definitely give you the list of the properties that were determined to be destroyed in your district. Whether or not FEMA will approve them is another question.
Exactly.
We've learned that there's some very specific criteria. If there's more than one wall standing, it's not considered, it might be considered demolition. If the entire house is collapsed, it might be considered debris. So it's a complicated process, but Michael, if we can get
And do we
Councilwoman.
know how many notices these residents, the owners, have received?
Yeah,
prior to?
so Debris Tech has sent out information to the property owners, and Michael, I think we notified as well.
Yeah, this is all voluntary. Folks are coming into our office to request it now. We gave Debris Tech the list from the damage assessment so that they had opportunities to contact them, and they would go to the residents and leave door hangers, or if there was contact information, they'd go directly to them.
Okay, if you happen to have that list or get one,
I
can
have-
you please forward it to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt, can you give us an update on the FEMA group sites? I know it is our understanding now that maybe one of the sites is no longer on the table.
Sure. FEMA is still looking at a couple of sites throughout the St. Charles Parish. My understanding is that they're still looking at the Bent RV site. They're still looking at a site in Kelowna. We've had considerable outreach on the site that was proposed. It was under their EA, they call it the Luling site, but it was really considered boutique, which was behind Waffle House and Burger King. We let them know that was really the most unfeasible site that they had listed on there, and they decided that they were not going to pursue it. So they still are looking at a couple other sites, and the sites that they are looking at, well, as well as a site I think that they're supposedly going to move forward on in Taft on a property that is already zoned for R1AM for mobile homes. But they have not submitted, to my knowledge, have they submitted something recently?
As of this afternoon,
Okay.
the Ben's RV site has an application for special permit use.
Okay, so that site came in for a special use permit. It's news to me.